It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Kieft, joined as always by Kevin McIntosh. Kevin, happy Friday and an exciting end of our week here in greater West Bloomfield.
What's going on, Tyler? Happy to be here per usual. You know it's another day, so that means it's another opportunity for us to talk to the greater West Bloomfield community. Let's get into it.
Yeah, and it was an exciting Thursday here in greater West Bloomfield, particularly over at West Bloomfield High School. Football season finally underway for the West Bloomfield Lakers as they kicked off the season against Clinton Township, Chippewa Valley. A little bit of an OAA versus MAC Red matchup at the Swamp to kick off the season, and quite the exciting night it was. Here is a quick recap of the first game of the year.
Opening night and family fun night at WB as the Lakers opened the season against Chippewa Valley. After the kickoff and a couple of plays, the Laker defense makes a big statement. Chops Pittman taking it yard with a pick six. 38 yards to the house, West Bloomfield up 7 early. Next drive for the Big Reds, they'll make a few quick plays and advance into plus territory. However, the offensive wins won't last long. Jamal Shakespeare, they couldn't see him through the camo. He gets the second Laker pick in the first 5 minutes of play. West Bloomfield only getting a few plays in before punting the ball back to Chippewa Valley, who then had to give the ball up themselves on a punt. But just kidding, it's muffed, and a punt turns into a massive gain into Laker territory. Penalties halt the Big Red drive, but later another opportunity, but it's again the Laker defense that steps up. Welcome to J.Ad Island, as John Edison strips the ball out of Eric Thomas's hands to set up WB in plus territory. That brings us to the second quarter with a few plays from Calvin Flowers and Josh Tate. We see the junior quarterback, Jamal Shakespeare, scamper to pay dirt, with the Lake Show up 14. A few back and forth drives sets up a 36-yard dart to the end zone for Josh Tate, his first of the season, and West Bloomfield now has a 3-score lead. That would take us into the final few minutes of the half with time ticking down. The L-Boys make some plays, and Josh Tate gets his second tutty to end the half. West Bloomfield 28-zip at the break. More woes from Chippewa Valley early in half number 2. Obi Derber, who gets a big gainer, followed by a reboot of the bomb squad. Bo knows. He sends it yard to Elijah Durham. Lakers up 35, and they trigger the mercy rule and the running clock. Lakers defense keeps them in the game midway through the third, and we head to the final 12 minutes with a 35-0 shutout. Some of the second stringers file in. Devin James takes it home, then a penalty takes that away, but not for long.
One man in motion, it's James. He'll get a jet sweep again, outside, pulled by the jersey, shifts back left, now he's got space, up the gut, down to the 10, still on his feet, and this time he gets it. Get your 6 points, young man. Touchdown, WB.
Lakers up 42-0 with the mercy rule. That would bring it home. A blowout, shutout win to open the season. Now comes the road trip as the L-Boys head out to Birmingham Groves in week 2.
Big performances for many of the Lakers on the gridiron last night, especially those guys coming up the depth chart from JV up to varsity in 2024. Here for more analysis of last night's game, Matt Gattoni, our color commentator on our weekly broadcasts as the Lakers pick up the big win. Matt, an exciting night for the Lakers to kick off the season.
Exciting night for the Lakers, and really couldn't have gone any better. I'm sure if you ask Coach Hilbers, he couldn't have asked for a better first game and start to the season.
Yeah, that is for sure. As the Lakers came out swinging from the jump, particularly defensively, that's where they made their money last night on this ball game. Obviously, it's a shutout. You don't allow any points, but it was really the defense that set up multiple opportunities for the offense throughout that game.
Yeah, really, and we expected this defensive front to really be the driving force of this defense and really come out and set the tone. But it was a young secondary that came out and really opened up this game and said, we are not losing one of our few home games, and especially our first home game.
Yeah, and really from the beginning, that first defensive play that ended up in the end zone, Corey Pittman, chops as they call him, took it into the end zone on just the third play of the game. Less than 20 seconds into the game, the Lakers had a 6-0 lead. And this is for a guy that really had an excellent game last night and has had a comeback in the game of football. He plays basketball. He played football as a freshman, took some years off the game, and now coming back into the fold as a varsity player this season, already making an impact. And you also saw guys like Jamal Shakespeare in that clip you just saw on CivicCenterTV.com with an interception too. That secondary was absolutely lethal, especially early in the game as Chippewa Valley had a little bit of a struggle on the ground and tried to establish their air game.
Yeah, Chippewa was honestly lucky that they only had those handful of turnovers, because there was a few times where Jordan Ellis got his hand on the ball. Chops Robinson almost got his hand on the ball again. And there was also a forced fumble that Chippewa Valley was lucky enough that went out of bounds instead of falling in the Lakers' hands. So really, it was just a phenomenal night all around for the defense, who didn't let Chippewa get anything going whatsoever.
And we got to give our flowers to that defensive line also. They prevented Chippewa Valley's offensive line, which is one of their strengths, from opening up holes for the running backs, in particular Deagle, not really able to get a lot involved in that game. And even Caleb Folks, who was the primary ball handler for most of that game offensively for the Big Reds. And they shut him down. And that's something that Coach Hilbers and Coach Jones and company really wanted to see in game number one. Get that defensive line so stout, so big, and stopping the running game.
Yeah, really, they couldn't get anything going out of a traditional run set for the most part. A lot of the success they had was with Caleb Folks out of the Wildcat, or with him at quarterback taking direct snaps. But really, that defensive front, you can't speak highly enough of it. Tank Pittman really holding it down, but they did not let anything get going against a Chippewa Valley team who Coach Wilson said going into the week, running the ball was one of the things that this Chippewa Valley team wants to do first and foremost.
Jeremiah Benson also having an excellent game as a shutdown defensive tackle too. Multiple key stops throughout that ball game that prevented Chippewa Valley from getting into more favorable territory and ultimately limiting their number of first downs throughout that game. Not only on the ground, but in the air, the Lakers shutting down Chippewa Valley in that 42-0 ball game. Matt Gattoni is with me, the color commentator for our live coverage of West Bloomfield Laker football all throughout the season, as the Lakers are 1-0 going into week number 2, a 42-0 victory on Thursday night at West Bloomfield High School as they took on Clinton Township, Chippewa Valley. On the offensive side, Matt, a little bit of a similar tale to Chippewa Valley early on, really not able to establish much of anything as the Lakers wanted to start off establishing the running game, but Chippewa Valley's got a strong front seven themselves. Eventually, the Lakers were able to wake that up, and a lot of that goes behind their star senior running back, Joshua Tate.
Yeah, those first few drives, you kind of saw them, struggle, not necessarily struggle, but getting only like 3 or 4 yards per carry. But as that game went on and we got into the second quarter, you started to see those 5 yards carries, those 6 yards carries, until then it culminated like with what you're seeing right now, that 40-yard touchdown carry, that 10-yard touchdown carry. Just as the game went on and further, you saw Josh Tate almost running harder. And you saw the same from Obi Duru. But we just saw this physical run game from the Lakers, especially coming from the running backs who just refused to go down at first contact.
Yeah, Josh Tate, our Laker player of the game on the broadcast last night, had a chance to speak with Kevin at the end of the game. That full game and that interview on CivicCenterTV.com and across our social media, where all of our Laker football games and our coverage all season long will be placed. We are your home for West Bloomfield Laker football. Another interesting dynamic, Matt, and this is something we anticipated for the Lakers in 2024, a 2-quarterback system, a multi-quarterback system, with Bo Jackson taking the majority of the snaps as the Lakers' starting quarterback. But we also saw a lot of Jamal Shakespeare in different sets and a little bit of Jackson Carver late in the game, and really showed the versatility in that quarterbacking room for the Lakers.
Yeah, really. Shakespeare and Jackson both were tremendous. And then it was very important to get Carver some of those late second half reps if he's going to be the starter later on in his career. But it was just very impressive seeing those top 2 quarterbacks, Bo Jackson and Jamal Shakespeare, just come in and flash in separate ways. Shakespeare kind of getting the offense going, giving it a little bit of a kickstart with his running ability, and just seamless ability with Bo Jackson on throwing. The zip on his passes was incredible with him just almost just flicking his wrist.
Yeah, and they bring something so different to the offense for each of them. You can kind of run on the ground a little bit more and out of a wildcat or an option system with Jamal Shakespeare. You can kind of do the same dynamic with Bo Jackson, but like you said, much more of a pocket presence quarterback, something we haven't really seen from West Bloomfield since C.J. Harris, and certainly before him in the days of Bryce Veasley as well, as the Lakers have had those kind of pocket quarterbacks that can zip the ball in the past. That opens them up to so much more, and even despite that, we didn't really see a whole lot of involvement from the receiving game last night. It was really a lot on the ground, a little bit of action from Cameron Flowers, and of course a touchdown from Elijah Durham, but that's something that's maybe not necessarily a point of disappointment for the Lakers from last night. Maybe something promising that the run game was so prolific that passing game is only going to be able to wake up as weeks go on.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing because it's just going to make the passing game and play action game that much more effective, because you're going to see teams coming into games now very worried about how dominant this offensive line is and how skillful both Jamal Shakespeare and Josh Tate are as runners, that they're going to commit heavily to stopping the run, which should open up some deep balls for Elijah Durham.
Matt Catoni with me on the Splash Live, our color commentator for West Bloomfield Laker football each and every week. Join us on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM for our coverage all season long. It's also where you'll find This Week in Laker Football, where I'll talk with Coach Zach Hilbers about each week's game, preview the week ahead, and talk to some players and some coaches for additional insight. That is your insider source for West Bloomfield Laker football all season long. So, Matt, 42-0 victory for the Lakers on Family Fun Night on Thursday, but still plenty of football left to play. Now they go on the road for a couple of games that are going to be in tough environments, going up against Birmingham Groves out of the OAA White, and then their tough road matchup to start their divisional play in the OAA Red at Rochester Adams. So as we head into week 2 against Birmingham Groves, what are you looking to see out of this Laker team to not only show that they're a strong team in 2024, but that first game wasn't a fluke? They won that 42-0 on their merits.
I'm almost kind of looking for short-term memory. Like you said, 24-hour rule. Don't get too high, don't get too low. But go into next week, focus, determined, seemingly kind of forgetting about winning 42-0 the first week, but going in and handling their business, being determined, and kind of emulating what they did in week 1 and limiting their mistakes.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this team has already been focused on coming into the season. Don't get too high on your wins or too low on when things don't go too well. Focus up and go forward with what you got on this team. Matt, in terms of this game, we know that Josh Tate was our Laker player of the game, and we talked about that secondary having some heavy involvement. Who's someone you think may get more involved in week 2 as the Lakers go on the road to play against Birmingham Groves?
Well, Josh Tate, I think, will certainly be important on the offensive side again this week with the talent that they have on their team with Avery Gosh. And he's a player that could eventually play both ways. We've seen him play offensive and defensive line before. If he travels over side of the offensive line of the ball, that's going to be a key matchup with Tank Pittman, where he will likely be tasked with having to stop that run game or get past Gak.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough matchup going up against a blue-chip recruit that is heading to the University of Michigan next fall, and that's going to be a tough matchup for the West Bloomfield Lakers on that defensive line, and he also plays a little bit on the defensive line himself, and so that could also play into factor as we head into week 2 on the road against Birmingham Groves. Someone I'm looking to see get more involved next week is Obi Duru. I think he had an excellent game in week 1 for the Lakers, kind of gives that alternative to Josh Tate out of the backfield, and also we'll probably see more involvement in the air game. We know last year when the Lakers opened up their OAA play in that crossover, same location, week 2, just like a year ago, they went to the air game for that. It was all Rick Nance and Elijah Durham and Cam Flowers and Marquise Morris and Brandon Davis Swain out of the air. So I'd expect a little bit of the same from the Lakers, but now that added element of having that rushing game. These younger players going to get more heavily involved as we go forward. Matt, any lasting thoughts from last evening's game as we wrap up here today?
Yeah, just that, I mean, going to a MAC school myself in high school, I can't really recall a time that I've seen Chippewa Valley just lose by that many points, but be beaten on the field that bad. It wasn't just that they won 42-0. They dominated the game in almost every facet, and this just looks like it is a very talented Lakers team.
Yeah, Coach Hilbert's telling the Oakland Press that despite the score, that doesn't tell the whole story of that Chippewa Valley team. Quote, they are a program that is used to winning, and I know they will recover and bounce back. They're better than what the score had showed, end quote. That from a Oakland Press article from Drew Ellis of PlayMichigan.com. Nonetheless, an impressive win for the Lakers, showing out for their home audience as they open the 2024 season on a mission to not only get to Ford Field, but to come home with the hardware on Thanksgiving weekend. Matt, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, always glad to have you on the program as we go through the Laker football season. One of the most exciting times of the year in West Bloomfield. All the buzz is around football for those in the green and white at West Bloomfield High School. Kevin, you were there with us also, an exciting environment last night. What was it like for you in the stadium to experience that as this blowout win where underwent and our stars were really shining for West Bloomfield?
I didn't know what to expect, Tyler, honestly, but as we were there, obviously setting up, getting things together, and as the crowd started to slowly appear, the energy started to build up also. So didn't know what was going to happen during the game. First game of the season, everybody's kind of just dusting off the cobwebs, but West Bloomfield put on a show. Now, I didn't get to enjoy it like I wanted to, but the energy from the fans, the community, everybody being excited, that new scoreboard, it was one of the best high school experiences I've had in a very long time at a game, Tyler.
Yeah, that for sure. And it wasn't just football night here at West Bloomfield High School on Thursday. It was also a special evening, family fun night. Now, it's unusual, Kevin. You're new here, but usually that happens a few weeks into the season. But some special circumstances this year. I had a chance yesterday to talk to Eric Pierce, the athletic director at West Bloomfield High School, who said that it was more so about a scheduling conflict around having a homecoming game, limited home game, so that has to be the third and final home game of the season. The other one's on a holiday weekend, on a holiday, so not many people are going to be able to be out after sundown, and so that's going to prevent that issue also with the Jewish holiday during that period. But nonetheless, family fun night at West Bloomfield High School alongside football on Thursday night as the community came out to gather and celebrate their veterans, celebrate their active military, as well as their police, fire, EMS, and medical staff as well. It was a beautiful evening for family fun and getting to know some of our community organizations. Public Relations and Marketing Coordinator Rebecca Fannin from the West Bloomfield School District had this to say when talking about what the event means to the West Bloomfield School District.
It's a great opportunity for us to connect with our community partners. It's a great opportunity for them to learn about clubs and PTO organizations, the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation, and all of these different support networks that wrap love and support around our families.
Everyone came out last night from the community, so many people from around to support these organizations, to support those that are keeping us safe every single day, including a lot from our Special Forces team, the fire department, police, and more. And these gestures and connections, those are the ones that are truly appreciated.
You know what? I so appreciate the fact that they take the time to come out and support this event every year, because one of the pillars of this event and why it was created was so we as a community could recognize the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to protect us. So this is one way that we can get back to them and recognize them and have the community come out and say thank you.
And it's also a great opportunity to get to know some of the kids across the school district as well. It's at the high school, but not every kid is ready when they come in on day one as a 9th grader for that high school experience. And so Rebecca Fannin from the West Bloomfield School District telling us also that it's a great opportunity to integrate some of the younger high school students and those who will soon call WB home.
Absolutely. This is another one of our great transition activities where we give them a glimpse of what's next, what could be, what's coming forward. And one of the things that we want to make sure we invite families back for is next Friday we have a community movie night. It's just $3 per person, which supports our student activities. It's going to be right here on the football field. So we would love to see all these families back again next Friday.
You'll see plenty more from West Bloomfield High School all throughout the season. Laker football will be there a couple more times with our broadcast throughout this 2024 football season. Hopefully even more beyond that if the Lakers are able to make the playoffs. In the meantime, if you want to see more from Family Fun Night, plenty of pictures available from the West Bloomfield School District on their Facebook page at West Bloomfield Schools. And Kevin, with the end of Family Fun Night, it's also the end of the first week of class across our West Bloomfield schools. And after a busy first 4 days, they have today off and then the long Labor Day weekend, much deserved as they take a rest from their education. School will not be back on Monday because of the Labor Day holiday, and then it comes back, of course, on Tuesday. Regular schedule, Tuesday through Friday next week here in West Bloomfield. But you got to question it, though, Kevin. If it's Labor Day, so the teachers aren't going to be working, the parents probably aren't going to be working over the weekend. So on Labor Day weekend, should the kids have to do their homework?
Great question. Is that considered labor? I would see labor as physical work. Homework is more mental. So I would say, yeah, get your homework done. You want to get a head start, so do that. Great question.
All right, Kevin McIntosh, not a friend of the homework children here in West Bloomfield. Mark that down today. I'm all for you. All right.
My goodness.
I'm trying to advocate for you. No homework over Labor Day weekend. It shouldn't be allowed. But hey, look, Kevin McIntosh wants you to have homework. We'll put that. And we'll put that. That's the breaking news here. Kevin McIntosh wants you to have homework over Labor Day weekend. So mark this day down.
I see what you did there.
On this 30th of August in the year 2024. And nonetheless, hope you have a lovely Labor Day weekend, and West Bloomfield schools will be back on Tuesday, as will the rest of our school districts, as that will be the final of our local school districts starting their 2024 experience on Tuesday, as Bloomfield Hills will start off their school year as well. Kevin, some exciting news out of the West Bloomfield High School alumni community, as a big congratulations is in order to 2018 West Bloomfield High School alum who has now joined the cast of Dear Evan Hansen. It'll be an understudy for the part of Jared, and even for the titular Evan Hansen in this play. We'll take a look at his photo here in a moment. The Tony Award-winning Best Musical is on its second tour, and so Blake, who is a 2018 West Bloomfield High School alum, he will be in that play going forward as an understudy. A huge accomplishment for him. Here we go. We see him on our screens. A 2018 grad doing big things on Broadway just 6 years later.
That is wonderful. Let me tell you, it's always a great thing when you're out chasing your dream and doing things and it starts to click. And then your own community, your hometown, gets to see news like this and report on it. So I know that has to feel great. That makes that high school reunion hit way different when you succeed. So congratulations.
Yeah, look, and I've risen to an executive position in my company, and then the next guy comes up, it's Blake Ehrlichman. Yeah, I'm on Broadway. So how about that? Congratulations to Blake. You can learn more about him. Give him your congratulations from his hometown here in West Bloomfield.
Sir.
On Facebook at West Bloomfield Schools. Kevin, look, it's Labor Day weekend. We already talked about it. All the stress of you giving kids homework. They're maybe going to want to relax a little bit, and so will their parents. So a great opportunity for them to do that right here in the heart of the Lakes.
No, that's a good point though, Tyler. Ultimately, we like to do physical activity right here in West Bloomfield. A lot of us are very physically active, and that includes a lot of different activities and events like yoga in the community that helps us stay physically fit. So with us right here live on The Splash, talk about yoga being presented in Keego Harbor specifically, we have owner of Sunyata Yoga, Erica Shiak. Appreciate you for being here, Erica. Now, first and foremost, let's even talk about why you brought Sunyata Yoga to the partnership with Keego Harbor Parks and Rec.
About last year, I reached out to the Parks and Rec, inquiring if they would be interested in having yoga in the park there for the community. As I get to know the community in Keego, I've been living here for about 14 years. Through my daughter being in the elementary school, I get a lot of people asking me, what do you do? And then when I tell them I'm a yoga instructor, they're like, oh, I really want to do yoga. I'm like, oh, why don't I just put it in the park here and have my neighbors just come and join me for a yoga class?
Nice, nice. Okay, so I want to kind of get in this. What can you share about what participants can expect from this Yoga in the Park series and how it benefits the community?
Yes. So what to expect is the class that I provide is very beginner friendly.
Okay.
So the assumption is that most of the people that are coming to the classes, they've never done yoga before, or they've done it once or twice in the gym. So I wanted to just kind of provide a class that also gives them a very broad layout of what to expect if they were to go take a class somewhere else. It also goes into how to safely participate in a yoga class, what to inform your instructor about when you go to a yoga class, and all of that.
Yes. Okay. So that's good. So it's good to know that you keep it open to beginner friendly. It's no one that feels too experienced, that feels like this isn't for me, or someone who hasn't done it at all that feel like they're not ready for it. This is great for everyone to kind of learn together. And with us right here on the Splash Live, Erica Shiak, owner of Sunyata Yoga and hosting Yoga in the Park, Keego Harbor, Rose Sorter Park. So with you also incorporating Buddhist mindfulness practices into your yoga, how do you feel like that actually benefits residents and participants also?
It really helps to stay in the present. So a lot of time, a lot of times people will kind of be thinking about what they're going to do after yoga class when they're participating in it. And it keeps them staying focused on the sensations of their bodies, to not see their body in a too negative or too positive light, just kind of allowing them to stay present, noticing the sensations, and staying in a mind frame that doesn't allow them to kind of spiral in a certain direction.
Okay. Okay, I can understand that. I can see that. So a lot of people, instead of thinking about, right after this, I got to pick up the kids or whatever the case, or I got to go to work, I got to finish this project. You just try to keep them right there. Focus on what's going on, mindfulness, and kind of, release the clutter of the mind. I can completely understand that. So with the residents and participants that show up within the community, what challenges do you see they often face in trying to participate in the Yoga in the Park series, and how do you address those challenges?
I do notice that a lot of the participants are a bit older, and so they have a lot of apprehension for like balancing postures, or that kind of uncertainty with their body, that they've never done this before and they're afraid to hurt themselves. And I provide hands-on assistance in the classes, so I make sure that they all feel very safe. In fact, we practice in the gazebo in Rose Sorter, so there's a little railing around it, so they can easily just tap onto that for the balancing poses. Yeah. So it's very much a group of people who definitely know that they want to be there, but they are having a bit of a coming out of their comfort zone to come to class. And by the end of class, they're feeling very relaxed. They're feeling more confident, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and that's the first step too. Just showing up. Let's just talk about that. Like the greatest ability is availability. If you're available to even be there, that just lets us know that you're putting a step forward in that physical activity and trying to get right. And then the rest is, that's why we have a professional like yourself. So thank you for even explaining that. With us right here on the Splash Live, owner of Sunyata Yoga, Erica Shiak, talking about Yoga in the Park, the series at Rose Sorter Park, Keego Harbor. With you also being a nutritionist, certification nutritionist, how does that influence your yoga and training practices also?
That helps to more with my personal training, helping people to just kind of, again, mindfully be aware of what they're putting into their body, perhaps the cues that their bodies are giving them to, say, drink more water, or maybe they need to go see their doctor about vitamin imbalances and things like that.
Okay. So I can see that. Yeah, it's two separate things, but I mean, with you being the source for all of that information, if someone is interested during yoga and they want to take it a step further, they can probably incorporate, or I should say inquire with you about their nutritional diet also and personal training. So it's good to have you as a resource for all of that all in once. What do you hope participants gain from joining your class, and how are you personally measuring success?
I hope that the people who come gain more self-confidence. They gain a deeper appreciation of what their body can currently do in this moment. And I hope that and I have noticed that they come out feeling more peaceful. They feel more balanced mentally, not just physically. There is this almost like a wave of everything's okay after a yoga class.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I try to meditate often, so the how you feel when everything's just and then with the body too feeling good, and then starting your day, I understand it. So how are you measuring success from this event, this series?
I usually receive a lot of feedback like immediately after. And then I do have, since we only do this at the last Saturday of the month, we've only had 2 so far. And I've had repeats coming back and saying, oh, I loved it. I had to come back. I had to make sure that I moved some stuff in my schedule so I could do this again.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's success right there. Yeah, when people, word of mouth first and foremost is one form, but then when people repeat customers, repeat clients, that's another way of definitely showing how effective your work is. We appreciate your time, Erica. Last, before I let you go, future plans for Sunyata Yoga or just yoga in the park in general?
Well, I would love to continue to do the yoga in the park as long as weather is permitting. Hopefully starting it up next year as well. At Sunyata Yoga, we offer more of a semi-private class. So we're going to be adding more in the fall. Right now, summer vacation, I have 2 littles. So it's a little bit hard to get that going right now. But we have more classes planned for fall that will hopefully help to balance out the other classes that we have right now for people.
Absolutely. And if anyone is interested in yoga in the park, how could they get in contact?
You can find me on Facebook at Erica L. Chiak, and then also Sunyata Yoga. I have also sunyatayoga.org, which is my website, and that will lead you to all of the fun information about yoga, blogs, and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Fun. Thank you so much again for your time, your information, and for getting the community out doing some physical activity. Owner of Sunyata Yoga, Erica Chiak, talking about yoga in the park at Keego Harbor. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
A lot of great information right there from Erica Chiak. Just talking about yoga in the park, Keego Harbor, that's going on until September. A great way for you to get out, stretch, meet people in the community as well, especially as we start to wind down in the summertime, Tyler.
Yeah, great opportunity to take advantage of this longer weekend, get out and about in the community and join in on some of the fun from Keego Harbor Parks and Rec this summer. And as we head into the fall, we know that last weekend there was movement in the park with Laurel Rivera. Now you're going to have yoga in the park at Rose Sorter Park under the gazebo. You'll be out of the sun in the nice morning weather in Keego Harbor. And just another one of those coming up too is they'll do that through the early portion of September in the heart of the lakes. Close to home and right next door to Keego Harbor in Sylvan Lake, a unique piece of art in their community center that dates back generations. Joining us now on the program is Helen Jane Peters and Eric Thomas to tell us even more. Thank you both for being with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate having the both of you on. And so if you have been to the community center here in Sylvan Lake, you'll see just above the fireplace in the main room of the community center, there are a series of tiles up there, and one of them has been discovered as a Pewabic tile from Pewabic Pottery, founded in Detroit in 1903. Eric Graham, we'll start with you from Pewabic Pottery. Tell us a little bit about these Pewabic tiles and what makes them so unique.
Sure. So actually, the entire installation there above the fireplace is Pewabic pottery, and was donated by our founder back in 1916. And it includes a various array of, along with mosaic, includes a various array of embossed iridescent tiles, along with some of our famous historic drip glazes and things like that. So it's it's just a wonderful thing, definitely, to have, as a part of the Sylvan Lake community. Kind of reviewing a bit of our history as well. We were founded in 1903 by Mary Chase Perry, later Stratton, an artist and educator, and Horace Calkins, a prominent dental supplier and kiln manufacturer. And to give us some context, Pewabic was founded the same year as Ford Motor Company. So it's definitely been around for a long time, and we're happy to still be going. It originally started out in an old stable studio in the Brush Park district of Detroit and moved to our current location in 1907 after our founders expanded to the tile making business. Our founder, Mary, really began to grow with the ingredients and really wanted to know the what and why of the processes of glazing and creating pottery, even referring to her formula book as her most intimate friend. The first years were highly experimental as they went through many tests and trials, even many failures. However, I think to even their own surprise, the public really liked the look of the handmade tiles and items versus the mechanically made items during what was the golden age of the arts and crafts movement. Throughout our history, we definitely became mostly known for our architectural tile, which can be found throughout Metro Detroit and far beyond. This includes our iridescent glazes, like I mentioned in particular, which we are proud enough to still be producing today. Our founder received inspiration from the art of the Middle East in her quest to kind of replicate those dichroic surfaces that you see even in the installation there in Sylvan Lake. She would spray kerosene into the kiln at its peak temperature, which would cause a flash reduction environment, leaving different effects on the pottery surface and glazes. We still use the original clay mixer from 1912 in our current production as well, which would have been used to make those tiles there in the mosaic. And we've learned a lot about ceramic materials and their impact on the human body. So we did have to reformulate all of our historic glazes and no longer use those original recipes for safety reasons. But Pewabic really does hold a lot of nostalgia and warm feeling for Detroiters and even beyond today. We have many people who come in and discuss how they remember Pewabic tile in their grandparents' home, or that it's a tradition for them to purchase Pewabic for each other at the holidays, or even those that just remember our building being across the street from the Detroit Waterworks Park as a child. Many of the original staff stayed at Pewabic for their entire careers, and we even hear from many of their family members and descendants today. So for me, I'd say that's just an example of the pride of our employees that they've passed on to future generations. And Pewabic was also essentially founded by a woman in a time which was quite unheard of and almost impossible. So after 121 years, it's definitely an inspiration for the Sylvan Lake community to have a piece of that in one of her installations. And
Eric
it's
Graham
also
is with
very...
us on the Splash Live alongside Helen Jane Peters, talking about the Pewabic tile that is in the Sylvan Lake Community Center, as Eric said, donated back in 1916. And Helen Jane, with that being 108 years ago, this being one of the early Pewabic tiles that's become a historic gem of the Metro Detroit area, what significance does it have to the city of Sylvan Lake?
Well, it was originally put in the Detroit Free Press Fresh Air Camp Activities Building in 1916. So that dates the building as well, I think, because the fireplace would have been built at the same time as the building. So that's very, very interesting. And the building next door was, the dining hall was designed by Albert Kahn, which we did not know until after it was raised, which is very sad. But those are two prominent Detroit people, Albert Kahn and Mary Chase Perry. So it's, and to really know for sure, I have done a lot of research, had done until I met Eric, and who knows everything about Pewabic pottery. But he contacted me about 2 weeks ago, and we've been going back and forth with what we know, and he's added to my knowledge greatly. And then the big thing just last week was finding a newspaper article that gives us the exact date of maybe not exact, but the date of when the tile was put in the fireplace. So this picture shows actually the removing of the tile from the old activities building to save and put into our new community center. Here's the man removing the tile for safekeeping, which we are thrilled to have.
And it does have a really interesting story of how it got from its former facility into now the Sylvan Lake Community Center. And that really tells the story there, the intricacy that went into moving that part of the old fireplace into that new fireplace that was designed really, Helen Jane, to mimic what was in that former building on that same location.
That's right. I really wanted to use fieldstone like they used in the old fireplace, but I was voted down. But we are very happy that we fought for the tile to be put in the new fireplace. So that was exciting.
And Eric, please continue.
That was put in 2008 when the building was completed.
And Eric, I understand that there's a bit of a connection between these tiles here in Sylvan Lake, both the original that is now in the community center and some of the other Pewabic tiles across our local area. Can you give us a little bit more insight into that connection?
Sure. So absolutely. The original designs, obviously, that are encompassed in the installation there in Sylvan Lake are still used at times. We still have all of our original historic molds. So those original shapes can be found in other installations across the U.S. Particularly, we have many in the Detroit area, such as the curved entranceways and windows in the Guardian building in downtown Detroit. The Detroit Institute of Arts, many public schools, healthcare institutions, along with many libraries and churches. Unfortunately, many installations over the years have been demolished, but that's why we're working hard to keep track of our historic installations across the world. So really, if anyone out there knows of any or thinks that they know of any historic installation of ours, we'd love to hear from you.
And Eric, just for a little bit more insight on that, given that this is an early age Pewabic tile from Pewabic Pottery, how rare is it for one of these to still be in existence from over 100 years ago?
So the good thing is Pewabic has always held, a nostalgic and special name in the hearts of many Detroiters. So as long as it was identified as Pewabic, we find that many have been able to be saved. We do hear of many that have been, say, demolished or painted over, things like that, regretfully. But definitely that time frame, 1916, and especially one of Mary's earlier mosaic examples, it's definitely a special thing to still have that around. I would say it's on the rarer side.
Eric Graham is with us from Pewabic Pottery alongside Helen Jane Peters, Sylvan Lake's historian, on today's edition of The Splash Live, talking about a piece of history and a piece of art right in your own community center on Pontiac Drive in Sylvan Lake, a piece of Pewabic tile in the fireplace embedded there at the Sylvan Lake Community Center. And Helen Jane, this kind of parallels some other pieces of art that have some historical significance to Sylvan Lake at other parts of the city. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe a few others that are have some backstory to them in the city of Sylvan Lake? I know that one of those is a painting over at City Hall.
Yes, I was just going to tell you, Eric also thinks that the fireplace in Whitfield School may have been had Pewabic tile in it. We always thought that there's a little tile of a cat, and we always thought that was probably Pewabic. Well, Eric does not think that was, because they didn't make tiles like that one. But maybe the tiles on the front of the fireplace could have been Pewabic. And unfortunately, that building was razed in 2003. But above the fireplace is a painting of Mary and her little lamb, which was painted by Roy Gamble, another Detroit artist. So we are very fortunate, and I'm going to do a program about that Mary and her little lamb very soon. So we are very fortunate to have these very special, unique items from over 100 years ago, and they have been preserved and restored, and we're thankful for that, for the people that are interested in having these things remain forever and ever.
We talk a lot about our history here in Greater West Bloomfield. It's pretty unique to be able to see a piece of that history each and every day in one of the centers of our community. Eric, Helen, Jane, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you both on. Talk about the 100-plus-year-old Pewabic tile that is placed in the fireplace at the Sylvan Lake Community Center. Next time you're over at the Community Center, you are in the presence of history. Take a look at the fireplace and see one of the icons of art here in Metro Detroit. Kevin, pretty impressive stuff.
Yes, it is, actually. It's a lot to actually be grateful for when it comes to different types of art and things of that nature. But it's ultimately what you take away from it, what meaning you get from it and things of that nature. So great efforts, great work that's going on in the community.
And plenty of other opportunities, too, coming up for people in Greater West Bloomfield to enjoy art, including at some of our local galleries and other art institutions.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very unique event that's happening at a local business here in West Bloomfield, a 2-day art event series that's happening specifically at Art and Frame in West Bloomfield. And it's a lot going on, but with me right here on the Splash Live to kind of break that down and talk about it, both artists and curators for that 2-day event series. We have Daniel Parker, and Kaya Shipman joining us right here on the Splash. Thank you both for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Great. So we're talking about a very, very unique art series, a 2-day event, first and foremost at that. Let's just get into it, starting with you, Daniel, if you don't mind. What inspired you to even create this cartoons and serial event series?
Well, it happened a long time ago, actually. It started maybe before the pandemic, probably before I moved back to Michigan, actually. I wanted to be able to put a platform together and, just basically get artists that I know in the city that wanted to be a part of the event, because we've had a rough 5 years with the pandemic and everything. And with that being said, boredom happened. And then with boredom, we didn't have anything during the pandemic to do. So during the pandemic, I started jotting down a lot of notes, started thinking about, like, you had a lot of time, had a lot of thoughts. Basically, like, I had, I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous, but I basically had a lot of time on my hands to basically come up with this idea of what I watched as a kid, like a lot of things that brought a lot of joy when I was a kid. And I wanted to be able to display that on some art, basically. My grandmother passed in 2018, and that was the motivation for me right there. Everything began.
Sorry to hear that.
So with her passing, she gave me the motivation to want to put together this show. Basically how I grew up. I grew up in a house with a big family. We all used to get up in the morning, watch cartoons, eat a lot of cereal. And with that, that's how I had a passion with art. So I started drawing. And then, when my grandmother passed, I kept hearing her voice of, do something, like create. She always knew I knew how to draw, so she would always tell me to keep drawing. I kept hearing her voice, so I started drawing, then eventually started messing around with some paints. And then I moved back to Detroit, ended up getting back with my mentor, and we did a few murals around the city. And then, like I said, during the pandemic, I just had a lot of time to really register everything. And I came up with these ideas, and then I had a host of friends that basically knew how to do art as well, that was passionate, and we all had similar backgrounds in childhood. So, everybody gets a lot of inspiration from, their childhood. So that's the basis and the premise of it.
Yeah, I like to hear that, Daniel, and that's great too, because I'm an advocate for art and creativity in general, and we talk about that a lot right here on this platform. Continuing with you real quick, Daniel, and then Kaya, I want you to actually answer and add on to this too. How did you curate the group exhibition? What criteria did you use for the artists and their work to be displayed?
For me, well, just what was the story behind that? Like, what was the story of like, when you hear a cartoon and serial, what do you think of? Like, what do you get that? A lot of them had was family oriented. A lot of them, a lot of the responses I got, and then a lot of the works that I've seen. A lot of people were passionate and had a lot of, like I said, a lot of the similar interests, and that's kind of how we picked it. And a lot of them are a lot of seasoned artists as well. So I've done shows with them around the city. And, you know, some of them I know, like they're really great friends. So.
And
And
just
Kaya, you
jumping
too,
in,
want to add on?
yeah, of course. Like Danny said, a lot of it started with what were they saying, and we wanted to keep it similar to like things that Danny was doing, taking inspiration from his like family, his upbringing, continuing on that conversation, kind of like of storytelling, this history, this legacy, and then even beyond that, looking stylistically, we wanted to capture a range. So looking at things that were more quote unquote animated or cartoonish, but in a style that was like super like elevated and fun and familiar. And then also looking at things that were more on the realism side. Just
Right.
because even looking at Danny's own work, he blends the two kind of like effortlessly. So we wanted something that felt very native to his own styles, looking at all different types of factors.
Nice, nice, nice. And I love how it takes so many different perspectives to come through, so many different, even you doing a survey, Daniel, to kind of get people's feel for even just the title. I love all the work that went into this actual planning for this event. With us right here live on the Splash, talking about an art event series happening at Art and Frame in West Bloomfield. We have curators and artists for that event, Daniel Parker and Kaya Shipman, excuse me. Now, I want to ask you about this, going back to you, Daniel, real quick. Why is it important or significant for you all to partner with a business locally in West Bloomfield like Art and Frame for your art event?
I just felt like it made sense, you know, and then just going in there and talking to Bradley and just seeing how passionate he was about what he does. Like, it was certain things I didn't know about framing, and I was just sitting there. It was supposed to be like when I initially met with him, we were supposed to meet for a half an hour. I ended up being in the store with him for 4 hours just because we were just talking about life, talking about, you know, his craft, talking about the different frames and the glass. And I was like, man, I said, I'm an artist, and I never really thought about that. You know what I mean? I never really thought about that aspect as far as the framing. And, you know, framing is so important to your art. Like, it's the preservation of it, you know, it's like keeps the art together, you know, and it makes it just look so much, the presentation just looks so much better. And he had so many different styles in there. And like I said, he was very passionate. And then I was like, well, I'm doing the show. So I'm bringing the source to you. You make the frame, I'm bringing the artist to you. So it just made a lot of sense, you know? And then also he's going to be able to enlighten so many of the artists in the community, you know?
Yes, no, that's great. That's a great point right there. And I've had a chance to talk to Brad too over at Art and Frame. Great people over there. I love everything that they're doing. And like you said, framing your artwork is a whole nother aspect to the artwork in itself. That's art itself. You know what I'm saying? As you probably already knew, like there's certain types of framing that helps with certain types of pictures, preserve it a little bit better, makes it look a whole bunch nicer also. And like I said, I already know you know about that. So great information right there. Kaya, getting to you real quick. How do you believe community events like this play a role in supporting and amplifying the voices of local artists?
I think, I know this saying is for raising children, but I use it regardless. It takes a village. And I think even like looking at like the month of design, Art and Frame, us as individuals, us as brands, the other artists, it really does take everyone's involvement for everyone's success. So having Bradley come and offering the space and having something that was already in line with storytelling, that's one thing. Having the support of Design Corps, that's another thing. Having the support of the artists and just having them willing to participate and believe in us, that's like a whole other thing. So when everybody kind of puts this like best foot forward and is like wanting to do this more like community-based events, one, it helps not only themselves, but everybody in their community. And when that's going on, it's like almost inevitable for everybody to kind of level up. And I know me and Danny and everybody involved, we kind of like move like that. And I know Detroit as a whole moves like that. So
yes, ma'am.
You know, we're just gonna keep going.
Thanks to Village.
Yeah. No, I get it. And no, the way you put it, it just makes sense. Like, we need these voices, these opportunities, these platforms and spaces for our local artists to express themselves. This is the way that we express ourselves. I'm including myself in that as an artist. This is the way we express ourselves, through that type of art. So to have these platforms and collaborate with each other and with businesses, it makes so much of a difference. We kind of running low on time, but real quick, before we get out of here, Daniel, going to you real quick. What do you hope attendees will engage, or how do you hope attendees will engage with the art and the activities during the exhibition?
I hope they engage by just, talking to your neighbor, getting familiar, also just reflecting and taking a step back and looking at, some of the things that they had as a child that they, maybe took for granted, as we get to these new ages and new times, we understand that time is of the essence. And, some of those things, technology, it just lets you know how things just keep moving. Nothing stays the same. And, one item may be able to take you back, and then it's also funny, certain generations may not have seen or used a VCR, something so simple, man, so I'm going to have a few different items in there from the past. I actually have a lot of old stuff from my childhood that I'm going to have that my mom preserved in a box, so it's all going to be scattered around. So it's going to be fun, and it's going to be interactive, and I hope everybody can just reflect and, like I said, just enjoy the moment and have a little bit of nostalgia for a couple of days.
Bro, did you say, I'm sorry, you say a VCR, bro? You are going to take, some of these kids are going to look at you like a dinosaur when you bring that out. That's like bringing out an 8-track for me. I'm like, what is this? No, I love that, though. I love that because, like you said, that's all part of our childhood and our connection. And real quick, Kaya, before we go, any additional last information people need to know if they are interested in this art series event?
I say come bring a friend, be yourself, be open to learning and like being interested in new things. Especially I think with like the framing portion, just be open to learn.
Right. Absolutely. It's going to be a lot there, a lot to expect, and we are excited to be there. And we thank you both for not only taking time to be here, but collaborating with local West Bloomfield businesses to provide those type of events there. Once again, from the 2-day art event series that will be happening at Art and Frame in West Bloomfield, September 20th and September 21st, we have Daniel Parker and Kaya Shipman. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Tyler, very, very interesting conversation with some local artists, curators who are bringing art and cartoons to our local area. And even a VCR, Tyler, that kind of caught me off guard, but I love the energy and the effort.
A little bit of art, a little bit of history also coming to Greater West Bloomfield with that event. A really interesting way to look at art from a unique perspective and bring some interest too with some of these topics that a lot of people enjoy in our community. A lot of people will enjoy cartoons from their past or even from the present, and this is a great way to express that and get to know some of our local artists that are doing unique and interesting things right here in Greater West Bloomfield. Want to remind you, you can always stay tuned to everything on our channel on civiccentertv.com. All of our programs broadcast there and on demand, available for you, including our daily program schedule. So if you're just tuning in, you missed that interesting conversation, that's the place you're going to want to go. And of course, you can always follow us across our social media, Facebook at Civic Center TV 15, YouTube and Twitter at Civic Center TV, as well as on Instagram at Civic Center TV. It's all right there on your screen. Scan that QR code and follow us on each and every one of our social media to keep up to date with everything, including right here on the Splash Live. Just like that, our week is over here on the Splash Live. Hope you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend and stick with us as we head into next week. For our entire crew at Master Control, Jake Schaff and Calvin Brown, and alongside Kevin McIntosh, I'm Tyler Kieft, thanking you once again for tuning in to the Splash Live.